Hello, world, and this is I Can See the Futura. So, you are joining us on our second month and the first video of our new project series. And in this video, we're going to be talking about all of our ideas that we've compiled over the past week that we might potentially be taking forward. I totally didn't introduce my name. I am Teresa, and this is Chelsea. Here we go. Chelsea, would you like to talk about one of the first fresh ideas?
Yes. Okay, cool. So we're using Asana for the tracking of all of our ideas and essentially the project management stage of everything. And inside of Asana here, we have a few that, if you watched the past month's video, you have already seen, and we have a few new ones as well. I'll start with the new one that I added to this list, which is a learning and memorization aid app that is based on the Ebbinghaus, I think that's how you pronounce his name, Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. So let me open that up just to give everybody an idea. So the forgetting curve is a theory that this dude with the beard and the glasses came up with. It's a pretty sick suit, actually. Look at that tie. I don't know why he's isn't that, yeah, that's Dilbert. Just comparison.
Oh, like a Dilbert version of
Ebbinghaus, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, so the forgetting curve is essentially the concept of your recall for a topic you've just learned. So you have elapsed time since learning, and you have the original learning and relearning phases. So you 100%, maybe not me, but most people, I guess, 100% recall what they've literally just learned in the moment. And then after 19 minutes, you only really remember about 60% after, and it goes down after 50 minutes, you're at like 63 minutes, you're here. At 40%, and it kind of goes out, right? Day 1, day 2, 6 days later, 31 days later, you're at 20%, right? And this is from that first moment of learning something.
Mm-hmm.
So with this study, he kind of worked through, okay, well, what would kind of improve your memory and your ability to recall information? So there's the rate of forgetting with steady repetition. And this is the concept that I think is interesting and could kind of translate into a fun project. So we have the percent of information retained, right? 100%, right, when you learn it. If you repeat what you've just learned within 18 minutes, you go from that like 55% back up to 100%, right? Because you're back at repeating the information. Great. So now you have the second repetition would come within 1 day. And if you do that, so you're dropping down to 70%, it brings you back up to 100. And so it's this concept as it goes out for how frequently you need to repeat that information before it becomes solidified. So you have your first, your second, third, all the way out, fifth repetition within 3 months. So you have this kind of time scale of like immediately learn something, repeat it in 18 minutes, repeat it in a day, repeat it in 7 days, repeat it in 31 days, and then 3 months later. And it essentially helps you prevent or it helps your recall of that information. So I'm doing a boot camp right now and kind of learning a lot of information. Every day is something completely new. And so one of the guys in the boot camp and I were actually talking about memorization, and he brought up this concept of this learning curve and how he wants to try and recall everything and remember everything. And so I was thinking about that. My first advice was like, don't worry about it. There's so much new stuff. It's not going to really stick until we get into it and learn it. But then my second thought was, okay, let's what if we design and build something that helps you with that, recall, and it's based off of this pattern. So I think it could be fun. It could be either something where you're just like saving a link, and that link is then sent to you based on the time schedule of like, okay, I first read an article, right? And the information in it, I am going to remember all of it. And then 18 minutes later, it pings me, notification of some sort, or lets me know like, hey, you need to reread it or relook at it, glance at it so that it's back up to 100%. So it does this timeline without you having to think about it. That way you can put a lot of different information into the app, and it will just remind you to revisit it at the right time so that you eventually memorize it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the idea. I think it could be really fun to build, especially, I'm essentially doing different capstone projects right now, and I think this could be something that would fit in line with like a good capstone. I think there's a lot we would have to talk about and kind of figure out for like how would this really function? What would the design be, and like would it be like you're just entering information in, or a link, or like what would that like how would you put in what you're trying to learn, right? So that's the part I haven't just haven't thought about it at all, really. Just thought about this concept of like an app that helps you, not forget stuff.
Yeah, it aids in you really like mastering something.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think there's a lot we can figure out for how this would function. And it's, it's a little bit less of, it's not as fun of a topic, but I think it could be really useful. And I actually would like it, because I don't want to try to remember what I need to remember, and remember the times when I need to revisit it, especially when you're learning so much in such a short period of time.
So would this app be like more of a reminder timer, or would it also take in the information that you actually need to remember?
I think it would be more of a reminder timer with a little bit of the information you need to remember, right? So like maybe it's a matter of just making like a quick note about what it is, like if it's like a bullet point topic, or whatever that is, with a link to the actual full information, or so that, I don't know, that's the part we'd have to kind of brainstorm out if we want to do this one, where it's like figuring out figuring out what content goes into it, but as a function, it would be like a reminder to revisit that content at these times.
Yeah.
So yeah, not like the sexiest of projects, but also one that I think would fit really well and could be really cool.
Yeah. Like anything that would help me learn something better. And if it actually worked, like I'd be like amazed.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it would work, and I think it would take the ease of being worried about not retaining information. Like,
yeah.
like it would make it easier to just not worry, because that this app, or this this web app is gonna like remind you. It's gonna give you a little like, whether that's through like an email or a notification. It depends on what this would be, right? Is this an app? Is this how is this being built? If we're trying, if we pick this one and we want to do this this month for like I said to you earlier, I'm working on capstone projects for the boot camp that I'm doing. So this would be one that would fit in line with something that we could build out. So it could be really fun to design this together, and then second half of the month I would be building it.
Yeah.
Cool.
I really like that one.
Yeah, that could be fun. Okay, so then the other one that's added in here is way more fun as a concept. But yeah, cookie toasters.
Yes, do a complete 360. This next product would not really help you in any way, except if you really like cookies. I don't know how this came up. I don't know how this idea came up. I don't know. But we were eating cookies. I was eating cookies with my boyfriend. And I just thought, like, he had just made a fresh batch of chocolate chip cookies. And, they were from the tube where you, like, take them out and you place them or whatever. So they're not, like, handmade from scratch. But even without making them from scratch, you have to put them into the oven, and you have to wait like, I don't know, like 15 minutes or whatever. And they have to rest and they have to cool, and
There's
you
no
can eat
time
them.
for that.
Yeah, and I was like, well, like, what if you were able to design a cookie, like let's say chocolate chip. You designed it in a way where you could pop it into your toaster, where you toast your bread, so it'd sit vertically, and you could toast up a cookie, and it would be like, it would cook it, and it'd be fresh, and in like 3 minutes, and then the chocolate would all be contained within the cookie. So the design would really be like, how does the cookie look, so that when it's toasted and heated like that, the chocolate doesn't just melt out, and like then it'd be like crazy. You'd start like a toaster fire. So it's really about the cookie design, but also I feel like a lot of people would go for this.
Oh yeah, toaster cookies as a concept. Yeah, if it was like a fresh baked cookie.
3 minute hot cookie, because even if you put a chocolate chip cookie in the microwave for like 30 seconds, it doesn't have that like crispy and soft thing going on. Crispy, melty, and soft. So you do have to, I think you do have to toast it. So if it's a 3 minute fresh hot cookie.
Because we don't have time to cook. We don't have time to bake cookies anymore, world.
Single serve too.
We
Like,
need a single serve toaster cookie right now. No, I love this. I love this idea because I would eat them every day, and we can put them in packaging that's not super wasteful.
Yes, right.
That would be another fun kind of thought. Maybe that could be actually a really fun. So obviously, for the purpose of like, if we go with making this idea, what we would really be designing is like most likely another like 1 page kind of like conceptual, like pretending it exists, and we would, the how it works and the, like kind of layout and design like the visuals for what this would be like, which could be really fun, because we could also kind of focus on sustainable packaging with it, or some way to make it.
Right.
Yeah, we could design something where it's like, you're popping the whole thing in, and that is also a part of like baking it. Or obviously we don't know the chemistry, I guess, of the cookie and like what would really work.
Yeah, we would have to make our best estimated judgment on how that cookie should be designed, right?
Yeah.
So the chocolate stays inside.
Super cute chocolate stain inside the
Chocolate
cookie.
doesn't come out of the cookie.
No chocolate on the outside. The chocolate has to be at a certain temperature. So it's getting tricky. But okay, I think no matter what though, for the purpose of this, if we want to do this one, we would just be doing like the design. We don't have to get too technical. We can pretend this is a world where this cookie toaster would work for sure, regardless of us testing the actual like trying to make it. Although I kind of want to like, it's not obviously not enough time with how a cookie works now, but I kind of want to just like throw a cookie dough flattened into a toaster and like see how many times you have to put it in to like cook it. There's also, toaster ovens too, which is essentially same concept, but flat. Cool. Yeah, I want cookies now.
With a cookie toaster, you're all minutes away from a fresh hot cookie.
Does something like this exist?
I don't know. I don't think so. I didn't Google it.
Right, cookie you can toast. Oh, places to go. Toast it on a crisp store cookie. Oh, that's just like putting a store-bought chocolate chip cookie in the toaster oven at 350 degrees for 5 minutes.
Oh.
Yeah, so I mean, it seems possible. Let's just look at pictures of cookies.
Oh,
it looks good.
Oh yeah, all the varieties of cookies that you could make.
Yeah. Yeah, what is that? That's not a cookie.
No, it's not a cookie.
I think because I have toast in there. Um,
Oh, that's why.
for sure. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this idea. I think it could be a really fun like branding
Yeah.
project. Like, and just kind of coming up with the pitch for it as well. Like, how do you show that it's like 3 minute cookie or something? And,
Yeah.
you know, cool. And then the other ones that we had, kind of spoke about in that first video we did for last month's project. So the exciting package tracking, which is another thing that we could totally build, which could be fun to do either this month or maybe another month. But that was based off of just you put in your tracking and like it gives you back like a very cute and fun kind of representation of your package and its journey on its way to you.
Yeah.
That one could be really cool to build.
Animation,
Yeah, animation, just the visual side of this would be really fun because right now nothing that I've found at least exists that does that. And this being one that we actually build, we could actually put it on build out an app later for Shopify and actually make some money from this one because I think stores would actually like to add that. So
Yeah.
that could be a fun one to do sooner than later.
Yeah.
So those are the ones that we had there. We also had health analyzer that looks at your poop and pee via the toilet, which is sick. Another like conceptual project. A Roomba that picks up your dog poop and turns it into fertilizer. Yeah, you're watching that show on Netflix as well, right? Maniac.
I was. I was, yeah.
Okay, yeah. In the first episode of it, or the first two episodes, there's the little like Roomba dog poop picker upper thing that's on the street.
Yeah, you told me, and the thing is, I had watched the episodes that machine was in, and I didn't even notice it.
Oh my
I'm
god.
shocked.
I immediately was like, "What? That's so awesome. We were just talking about making that and it's in this like futuristic like movie as a thing." Yeah, it's like this little machine that like drives around on the sidewalks and just picks up
Yeah.
after other people's dogs poops. And she puts a little, in the second episode she's putting the picture of like the missing dog on the little machine and taking it out of the yeah. Anyway, I laughed. I was like, cool. You think it and it's just there.
That is, yeah. No, I really, that's just so weird. Any idea, I'm like convinced now, like any idea that, I have, anyone has, is just floating in a thought cloud that everyone is putting there. Like,
Yeah.
can we truly come up with original ideas,
Well, yeah, I don't think so. I don't think I don't actually think there's a concept of original ever because it's always collective. And especially at this point with like how we're building out the internet essentially and all of our, in the future, like artificial intelligence from that. It's all essentially our collective like Google searches or our thoughts. I really don't think there's anything original, and I don't even know if there's that many things that haven't been done. It's less about that as much as it's about picking something you're excited about creating, and then doing your version of it and making it what you would want it to be.
Yeah.
There's so much room in the world for I think everything to exist. I don't really believe in competition, which I probably should if I'm trying to build businesses in the future, but I'm kind of like, yeah, they'll let them do it too. Sure, yeah, take the idea, do what you want to do. It'll never be exactly the way that we might make something, and
Exactly.
and I think it's still worth creating from with that perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the last two, the Flux for designers with color correction. This could be really fun to build, but I think maybe a little bit harder than we might want to tackle right now. Or we could just do the design side of it. But I think it's kind of worth like if we're going to do that one, like building it.
Yes.
And then we have got that mini AC for your car or tent, which again would be another kind of just branding and kind of like that base design kind of project. So I don't know, what ones are you feeling drawn towards?
So I don't know. Did we say that you you are looking to build a project out for this month?
Yeah, so I have 2 weeks in my class that I am taking where they're dedicated to working on a capstone project. So I'm actually going to have like daytime to be building something. So I think that this month we should pick something. I'm leaning between either doing the package tracking or the memorization aid.
Yeah.
Um, because either of those I think are doable. I am not sure which one would make more sense for this specific capstone, but for some reason I'm feeling like it's the memorization aid.
Yeah.
Uh, because I need to look at it again. But either way, whichever one we pick, I'll just do that for the capstone, even if it's not the most appropriate for project idea.
Um, and you are free to pick any kind of application. So like this would be this would be an app.
Well, no matter what, I'd be building this using JavaScript and Node, and I'd be building a web app. I haven't learned React Native yet, which is what would help translate this into a mobile app.
Yeah.
So I won't be doing that. But obviously it'll be like mobile first, so it would be available for you to use off of your phone. It's more a question of like how notifications would work, right?
Yeah.
So if it was like a native app for mobile, then you'd have push notifications, which would be really useful for something like this. So I think, I think that there's other ways to just kind of handle that. I'd have to dive into like what would be the best kind of notification style if it's a web-based app. Um, if it's like you receive an email that lets you know, or if that's kind of too old school, like it could send you a text message. I've used Trello, not, is it Trello? Yeah, I think it's called Trello, which sends text messages. I could probably build that into it so that it just like shoots you a text that's like, hey, click on this
Yeah.
link, brings you to the web app. But yeah, I have 2 weeks to build something, so I don't want to go too complex in the implementation of it. I should actually be able to get a lot done, but I also need to see like kind of what's required for that project specifically, and pick, like one of these ideas will work, like I'll make them work into that project. But yeah, so that one, or like the exciting package tracking, I would be using like an API for the map side of it. So let's see, like I found this map box. I'm not sure if it's appropriate. I need to actually dive into it more. Let's go to mapbox.com. So it's cool. It's like an API that like you can connect to for navigation, for essentially maps. Let's show you like use cases, on-demand logistics, turn-by-turn navigation, asset tracking. So let's look at that. Customizable set of building blocks for managing fleets, planning routes, and tracking assets. So it's like all of the map stuff. So if you're thinking about like Uber or any of those companies and how they have their like mapping kind of done. But the cool thing here is that you can customize using their studio thing here. Let me make this full screen for a second. You can customize what the map looks like and build out your own design.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so we could play with that and then put like some kind of like kind of use that in the design concept, and essentially there's a lot of tools we can use where it's like none of this is going to be built from scratch. If
Yeah.
it's not Mapbox, it's something else that makes sense. But yeah, I don't know. It could be fun to do that one as well. And that one, like I said, I do want to do no matter what, because for like one of the capstone projects, because I think we we can then convert that later into like a Shopify app and, you know,
Yeah.
make some dollar bills off of it. This would be helpful.
Do you think that, but I feel like I can see the map one being really doable for like a full build out in that time. Do you feel like the other app also is like the same timeline?
I actually think the other app is easier because all we're talking about is just you put like a user account that has like some sort of uploaded note or something, right? That you're like saving with the link or whatever, you know, whatever the content is that we figure out for that. And then just based on when you create that, it's automatically going to create some form of notification based on that time scale of the learning curve or the forgetting curve. I actually think that's a lot easier. It doesn't include anyone else's APIs. It would just be building, other than like potentially if we want to do like text messages using Trello, not Trello, Trello. Is it Trello? No. Trello's the, well, I'm spacing. Twilio, that's the word. There's so many companies with the same name.
That one, the other one is like real estate or something.
Yeah, Trulia. Trulia? I don't know. I was thinking and meaning to say Twilio the whole time. And this is for, you know, sending, I've used this, I've built out, granted it was in Ruby, but I'm sure it'll be easy enough to use with this, but I've built out something before that uses this, which would send text messages. So I feel comfortable with that, or even just like shooting emails. So we can think of the functionality of it, but I do think building that would be simpler. And so it might be a good first project. The user experience of it is something that we should spend some time kind of working on together and like laying out, because that might be like dependent on what we decide like we want it to really be able to do for you as far as like storing what you're learning. That could be fun to work on together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm kind of between either of these just because specifically this month I have the time to build something.
Yeah. So do you feel like you're leaning towards one or the other?
Yeah, I'm feeling like I'm leaning towards this one just because I can, even though I can't picture exactly what the UX is yet for it, or like what exactly, how it should function, I feel like we can work on that together and be fun. And we, you know, then building it, I can see really clearly. This, I want to make 100% want to make. Maybe it's next month's project or the month after. But I, especially because I, you know, want to turn this into like a Shopify app. Because I think it's a very useful tool for a lot of people. I mean, this could be too, but it's more of just like a fun kind of project to share out in the world versus like this can be like a subscription based thing if we build something awesome. But yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards that for this month. But it depends. If you're not as excited about it, then I could easily go towards doing this one.
No, I really like it. I think it's like exciting.
Yeah, I'm kind of like
it's an idea and a concept that I haven't ever thought about. And if it's an app that actually helps me, but also I feel like I would even learn how to learn.
Yeah.
I'm like very intrigued.
Yeah, that could be cool. Okay, yeah, let's do it. I think it's exciting, but you know, I didn't know if you'd be like as stoked on cool, let's make a memorization app.
Yes, I love it.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. So let's I think for the sake of keeping this video, you know, not super long, we've already talked about the concept and kind of ran through it. I'm just going to work on let's convert it into a project, and we'll decide for the 2 videos in the middle of the month, you know, what we feel they should be as far as what we're sharing. Either design, I definitely think there should be a development video because I think it'd be fun to kind of share progress of how I'm building it.
Sure.
But yeah, let's just put this over, converting this into a project. What we want to do right now is figure out, here we go, a few things for it. So let's add sections. The first section will be operational tasks. Second section would be design, and the last section would be development. So operational tasks, we need a name for it. Design, let's jump down. We're going to need logo / branding, UX, and then the UI. It's going to be separate. Development, I'll have to break these out into more details once we kind of lay out what everything is, but I'm just going to write build for now because I don't think we're going to scope all of that in this video anyway. And so obviously that's going to be me. Do you want to handle logo and branding again, or do you want to switch it up? Okay. That'll be you. We can both do UX together. And actually, yeah, we could actually do both of us do UX and UI. I kind of want to get us going on using Abstract. So the Abstract is a cool program that I haven't really been able to use with anyone yet. But it's the it's the program that essentially is like it's similar to GitHub in the nature of like or Git specifically in the nature of being able to save versions. So it's version control for your design projects.
Really?
Yeah, we can talk about that more later and kind of go into it. Maybe that's even like a fun video of seeing how we like hop back and forth and work together using that tool. But we'll see. So for the name, do we want to try to work through that right now, or we can kind of come up with it later and add it?
Do you have any off the top of your head? Learning and memorization app. I feel like maybe we can try to give it a shot right now. And if nothing really sticks, then we can continue later.
Yeah.
I feel like it should be something more than like just what it is. Like, because like there's so many apps that are like learning and memorization app.
Right.
But then if you take it to the other extreme, and what is that guy's name again?
Ebbinghaus. It could be fun to play off of his name, but it doesn't have that much meaning to someone, finding it otherwise.
That's like too abstract. But I wonder. His name is Ebbinghaus.
Yeah, the forgetting curve, right? And this would be tackling that with this study and repetition.
Do you think it would be enough just to be able to call it something more abstract, hoping that it intrigues people and that the category that it's in would explain the app enough?
Yeah, I think so. It depends on how people would come to it too. I mean, it really can have any name because that really comes down to like how it's being marketed ultimately. If we were to market it, but that is something to point out. Is there's different ways of like thinking through naming conventions or like naming not conventions, but like just brainstorming naming for a company. And either you want it to be really clear what you do, or you want it to like bring in interest and it doesn't even have to make sense. Like if you look at Warby Parker as a name, it's just like I don't remember what the story behind that was, but it's obviously just a name that I think it's like one of the founders' grandparents. Like it's like names that mean something to someone, but has nothing to do with like the product. Just feels right? So you can also build off of that. Just depends on how we want to go with it.
Yeah, maybe we probably couldn't even call it Ebbinghaus because there's probably some copyright with him. I thought like something like the Ebbinghaus technique could be like intriguing, but I don't think we can use his name.
Right. He memorized nonsense. Here's a fun little tidbit. We should just call it WidZof.
What?
We should just call it WidZof. So he used himself as a guinea pig and he memorized nonsense syllables, wid and zoft. Z, and then tested himself periodically to see how much he remembered at different points in time. So we could just call it WidZof.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's so clever. Yes.
Everybody would be like, what is that? Just as one word.
I love it.
Or should we do it as this weird, like, includes like a bullet? How do I make bullets?
They're two separate words, usually, right?
Right. So it should be WidZof.
Wid commas off?
It could be. But then you think really about strange. like a website for it, you know. It would just end up being WidZof.
Yeah.
We could also do it like this. WidZof.
Maybe that one.
Cool. Done.
I can't believe that was just right in there.
Yeah. So we will set this one due. So normally we're shooting on Tuesdays. Today's a Monday though. But we'll set this on due for the 30th of October.
Yes.
And let's see. Oh, I need to put it in here. Edit name and description. WidZof. It's a goofy name, but I like it.
I like it because I think once you find out what it is, it's good.
Yeah, it's got some fun ideas in there. Or like, yeah, it's fun that it actually has some meaning, but it's also a random word. Okay, cool. So what we'll do then is end this video. That was the brainstorming side. We had an idea, we talked through it, we have decided to go with making WidZof. And the next video we'll shoot will be most likely something in the user experience or the UI or design side of things. The video after that will probably be focused around development at some stage. And then the final project is going to be due on the 30th.
Yeah.
So yeah, all set. Let's see. I think this is good. We'll kind of go through this and start working through it in the next week together, and then we'll see everybody else at the next video.
Yep.
All right. Goodbye.
Thanks for joining us.